What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mine Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's episode, we're going to take a look at the math to see whether or not you should sell your crypto mining hardware during the bull run to maximize profits, or is it more lucrative to keep it? But before that, you know the drill. Hit that like button and a quick word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by CryptoMinerBros, providing you with the latest brand of miners from Bitmain to Jasminer to Ice River and more. CryptoMinerBros has just about every ASIC you desire at the most competitive pricing, and the price you see on the website is the price delivered to your door. CryptoMinerBros comes highly recommended from some of the most recognizable leaders in the space because of their commitment to providing the best service and support in the industry. Check out their site and be sure to use code minesum for an extra $70 off on your next order. So there's a lot of tech tubers out there, such as Son of a Tech, who promote the strategy of selling hardware in the bull run to maximize profits. But I have yet to see anyone break down the math to see if that is the best option or not. And I'm a numbers guy. And since we are potentially close to the peak of euphoria, I figured this might be the right time to explore the differences between keeping or selling your hardware. Now, if you haven't subscribed, I hope this is the video that earns your sub, so sit back, relax, and let's jump into it. Now, in order to prepare for this video, I put out a tweet about 2 hours ago asking the veteran miners out there, starting 1 year before the peak of the bull run, how much does hardware price appreciate? And so far, the majority of the responders are saying between 200 to 400 or maybe 400 to 600%. But I think Rabid Mining might be onto something here when he responded and said there won't be a hardware increase for consumer hardware like GPUs. In the past, we had Ethereum to lean on, and since Ethereum has gone proof of stake, GPUs have yet to find a home. Over the course of the last couple of years, GPUs have bounced from one project to another to squeeze out every bit of profit that we possibly can. And unless another coin takes that spot that Ethereum used to hold, there is a pretty good chance that we won't see the prices of GPUs appreciate like they did in the previous cycle. So in each one of these cycles, it typically takes about 1 year to go from the top of the bull run to the bottom of the bear market. 2 cycles ago, it was 364 days. And on the last cycle, it was roughly about 364 days. But as the price is going down on these coins over the course of that 1 year, there's still a lot of profit to be had. The problem is when you mine that coin and you hold that coin, you're typically going to see it lose about 90 to 95% of its value. So in this scenario, what I'm recommending is that once we get to what we think is the top of the bull run, we transition our equipment to get paid in USDT or USDC as opposed to the coin that we're mining. And if you're able to preserve that value at the moment that you receive it, you potentially could have a pretty large little nest egg by the bottom of the bear market. Now, the big question is that little bag that you've collected going to be worth more or less than selling the hardware at the peak of the bull run? And in order to help answer that question, I have created a spreadsheet. Now, if there's one thing that I know about my audience, that is that you guys love to point out when I am wrong. So I'm going to leave a link to this spreadsheet down in the description below, and you can edit these numbers to your satisfaction to figure out if the math works for you or not. But let's go ahead and take a look at these different columns that I have created here. So we've got a variety of equipment. We've got several GPUs, a couple of ASICs, and several CPUs. We've got a 4090, 3070, 4070, 6800 XT, the AlphaPex DG1, a Jasminer X16Q, a Ryzen 5950X, a 7950X3D, and an EPIC 7742. So the way this spreadsheet is going to work is we have our current revenue for that hardware, and what I've done for peak revenue per day is I've multiplied current revenue times 5. And the reason I chose times 5 is because I think all of us are hoping for at least a 5x on the coins that we're holding or mining right now. And again, you can edit these numbers to reflect what you believe. The next column is the reduction percentage per year. So using a site like CoinGo Live, you can actually come in here and add all of your favorite coins and sort them based on how far away they are from their previous all-time high. So in this example, Bitcoin is currently only 2.4% away from its all-time high. Xano's only 9% away, Varus about 12%, Caspa about 25%. But typically when we get to the bottom of the bear run, we're going to be at least 90% away from its previous all-time high, and perhaps more. So I'm just using a nice round number here at negative 90%. So by the time we get to the bottom of the bear market, if we've lost 90% of our revenue from its peak, then we'd be looking at about $1 a day in revenue on a 4090. Now what I've done for average revenue per day is I've taken our peak number and our bottom number, added them together and divided by 2. Because as we go from the top of the market to the bottom of the market, what you would be doing in this scenario is converting all of your income into USDT. Now this would give us an annual profit or annual revenue of $2,008. But keep in mind, once we get to the bottom of the bear market, things are going to hopefully turn around and potentially go back up. So I've added a second year's worth of revenue in this particular spreadsheet. So for the second year of revenue on an RTX 4090, we'd be looking at $365 based on only $1 in revenue per day. So if we move over a little bit here, we can see our total revenue number. So over the course of those 2 years, an RTX 4090 would hopefully get you about $2,400 in USDT. And right now the current price of an RTX 4090 is sitting at about $2,000. It's come up considerably because production has halted and we're still waiting on the 5090. So based on this poll, the majority of people think that hardware prices will appreciate somewhere between 200 and 400%. So again, using a nice round number, I've just put in a peak percentage increase of 300%. Now I think this is personally very unlikely, but if we had a 300% increase for an RTX 4090, you could potentially get about $6,000 for it. Now with the release of the new 50 series, again, I personally don't find that feasible, but stranger things have happened. So in this example, if you were able to sell an RTX 4090 for $6,000, you would be much further ahead, obviously, if you were to sell that GPU during the peak of the bull market. A difference of $3,628 compared to the total revenue over the course of 2 years from the top of the bull market to the bottom of the bear market plus 1 more year of mining. But look at the RTX 3070. Current value right now is approximately $250. If we had a 300% increase in the price of an RTX 3070, you could potentially sell it for about $750, but you would lose about $9 compared to mining USDT over the course of those 2 years. Next up, we got a 4070, and if you could sell one for about $1,600, you'd come out ahead about $650. But what if the RTX 4070 does not increase in price? Well, in this scenario, you would have lost about $446. How about a 6800 XT? It's currently making about 69 cents a day in revenue, a potential peak profit of $3.45, and a total revenue over those 2 years of about $819. Well, based on a $350 price now, if you had a 300% increase, you're looking at a gain of about $231 over mining. But what if it only increased 50%? Well, then you would have lost about $300. Now the AlphaPex DG1 is a very interesting example, currently making about $38 a day in revenue. If your profits were to 5x from here, you're looking at about $190 a day. And over the course of those 2 years, that's roughly about $45,000. The current price is currently coming in at about $8,000. So if it increased 300%, you'd be able to sell that thing for about $24,000, but you would have lost $21,000 in revenue. So what if it increased 500%? Well, you still would have lost about $5,000. You would need the price of that hardware to increase 564% just to break even basically on what you would have potentially made just mining and converting straight to USDT. Next up, we got the Jasminer X16Q, currently making about $5 a day on Zephyr. If we 5x from here, you're looking at about $25 a day or about $6,000 over the course of 2 years. Now the newer version of the X16Q is currently about $2,700. If the cost of that equipment 3x's from here, you're looking at about $8,100 or a net gain over mining of about $2,100. Now, if the cost of that ASIC increases by 500%, then you're looking at a gain of about 7,500 bucks. But if the cost of this hardware only goes to about 5 grand or double, then you're actually losing about $531. Next up, let's take a look at some CPUs. So a Ryzen 5950X currently making about 83 cents a day in revenue. If we 5X, we're looking at $4.15. And over the course of a couple of years, you're looking at about $985 in revenue. And based on a price tag of about 250 bucks and a 3X in hardware price appreciation, you'd still be losing about $235. Now, the cost of CPUs going up 300% between now and the top of the bull run also seems kind of unlikely. So if the price of it only goes up 50% from here, then you're looking at a loss of about 610 bucks. Next up, we got the 7950X 3D, currently bringing in about $1 a day. And over the course of that 2 years, about 1,200 bucks worth of revenue. And if that piece of equipment were to 3X from here, you're looking at a loss of about $34. And then last up, we've got the Epic 7742, currently bringing in about $2 a day, or about 2,500 bucks over the course of those 2 years. And based on a current price of about 600 bucks, you would be losing about $656 over the course of those 2 years, assuming that the cost of the hardware went up 300%. Now, if the cost of the hardware stayed exactly what it is right now, you'd be losing about 1,800 bucks. And if it goes down 25% from where it's at right now, you'd be losing about 2,600 bucks. But again, all of these numbers are editable. You don't have to take my opinion as fact here. So for example, with the RTX 4090, what if it went down 95%? Well, at the bottom of the bear market, we'd be looking at about 50 cents a day in revenue. But over the course of that 1 year, from the top of the bull run to the bottom of the bear market, we'd still come in with an average of about $5.25 a day in revenue. Now, even though the RTX 4090 is going for $2,000 now, if it lost 25% of that value by the time you sell it, then you'd lose about $2,600 in revenue over the course of those 2 years. But let's take it a step further. What if we just completely removed all of the second year revenue? Well, for the 4090, you still would have lost about $2,400. But you can see it has affected the difference in all of the rest of the hardware. Now, for those of you out there that are diehard miners, perhaps it is certainly going to make sense to sell some of your hardware and upgrade as newer generations of hardware come out. But there are a lot of new people that are going to be coming to this space, and they're going to be here today and gone tomorrow. And I think their mind may already be up regardless of the spreadsheet that I've put together here. But regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on, hopefully this particular spreadsheet can be of some use to you. And if it is, I ask of you only one thing, and that is to be sure and hit that like button before you go, and I'll see you on the next one.